It's time now to review headlines from today's newspapers. And as ever, we begin with this day. Steve,
absolutely.
Over to you for the honours.
We run with this day first, where we have the lead story that says Umahi challenges PDP governors on zoning of presidency to the south, with the rider accuses them of dishonesty, says their body language shows party not interested in power shift. That's an important story, against the background of the meeting of the southern governors 2 days ago. And of course, we now have the governor of Ebonyi saying that he does not trust the PDP governors who were part of that meeting, joining others from APC and ABGA to say that, yes, this is our position on VAT, this is our position on zoning presidency to the south. Umahi, of course, he was in PDP, now in APC, and he said, I do not trust, this party that seems to be to belong to maybe one or two governors of PDP. Yes. If they're now saying, let the south produce the president, he says, let us treat what they're saying let us treat it with a pinch of salt. On top of the lead story, just below the masthead, court orders striking doctors back to work immediately. However, NARD says strike continues to appeal ruling. It doesn't look like we will have an end soon. It's going to 6 weeks now, isn't it? Almost yes. 2 months that the doctors, resident doctors, have been on strike. There was an order by the court to say, hold your fire, but they've gone to appeal and yes. to say that until we've agreed totally, yes. On all the demands that we made with the federal government, we're not going to return. People are still dying. The health sector is still challenged. But then the federal government can't seem to agree with the resident doctors, which is a sad situation there.
Very, very sad.
Absolutely. On the window there, PTA, BTA, CBN set to unleash EFCC on cheats, promises to deal with illegal forex trader, retains MPR at 11.5%. CBN is... again,
they run a tight ship, don't they? On a very, very tight ship. You don't even on the bad side of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
No, not at all. I mean, look at the fellow that they are now after, yes. who has been, announcing the rates according to CBN yes. illegally. So this is part of what the CBN is trying to do to make sure that the economy is not in tatters. Let's see what happens. Below that story is the story of the NJC sets up special panel to probe 3 judges over ex parte orders. Good news, for me, absolutely. Definitely at the time that we've been worried, the whole nation has been worried about ex parte orders being purchased, being issued right. Left, right, and center. Let us see that. Let us see what happens with these 3 judges. Exactly. Now that the Judiciary Commission is looking into what is happening. And of course, the cover picture there, the defender of faith, which shows the Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dare, wife of the General Superintendent of Deeper Life Ministry, Mr. Kumuyi, her husband, the pastor, William Kumuyi, yes. the Vice President and the Governor of Lagos State, during the public presentation of Kumuyi, the defender of the faith, in Lagos State.
Lovely.
An important book presentation yesterday. That's the cover picture on this day. Those are the stories that we have on the cover of this day today.
Lovely.
Okay, so we'll proceed.
Shall we move on to the Independent, the Saturday Independent?
That'll be fine.
And one of the lead stories there is talking about IPOB. Southeast has lost 50 billion naira to sit-at-home order, says... Are we calling this NACMA or NACCIMA? There are lots of acronyms in this Nigeria. You never know whether or not it's the letters or the actual words that the acronym is coming. But it is a very serious situation here. They say that 50 billion naira has been lost to the sit-at-home order. I mean, the thing about the sit-at-home order, it's definitely one to preserve peace and make sure that there aren't situations where violence could erupt. However...
Are you sure about that?
This is it. That was my however.
Okay.
That was my however. You can come in and tell me whether or not that is actually the case.
Since last month or thereabout, the thing about this is our next approach to making us hard from IPOB. you know, every Monday we will shut down the economy, we'll shut down the entire Southeast. Because I think the iPod got away with it once or two times. Now they want to.
My goodness me! I'm sorry. I've read this in the wrong order.
In the wrong order.
Sorry. Now I know what I'm saying. Goodness gracious me.
Go on, Femi.
I'm with you now.
All right.
It's been a long week.
Rewind, and
rewind.
Then... Okay.
One more again.
Yeah.
So IPOB saying the Southeast has lost $50 billion naira rather, to a sit-at-home order, which in their perspective is a good thing, because they want to show their economic prowess, that if we don't go out on this day during the week, a Monday or whatever it is, this is the damage it causes, or this is the loss that's being made. So perhaps our plight should have more credence. People should take what we're fighting for more seriously, because this is what our protests are worth. Did I get it this time, Steve?
It is Nasima that is saying
this.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, which is the condemnation of what IPOB
have been doing
exactly.
with their sit-at-home order.
Absolutely. And nobody will applaud what, you know, IPOB is doing, because what it basically says is that 50 billion has been lost. You are killing the economy. Not only that, kids can't even go out to write, you know, WAEC exams. And people are saying that how can you claim to be better than those that you are trying to...
If this is what you're doing.
Is this what you're doing? And you can't win the heart of the people if you have to use force and violence. If you have to if you have to kill the economy that they depend on. And you've seen that the sort of narrative that's been happening, people comparing to how startups are springing up in Lagos on a daily basis, you know, the turnover that is coming out. Whereas the Southeast, that is supposed to be like, if you like the Taiwan, if not the China, you know, of Africa, you are now saying every Monday. You know the symbolism of a Monday. You are killing the economy. You are forcing people to stay at home. You are saying people should not go and write exams, you know, English particularly, on a particular day. That cannot be applauded. You know, interestingly, I think Nnamdi Kanu himself and a few members of the family did condemn this sort of a thing. But then, if you're not around to oversee,
that is part of the problem, isn't it? Because they do want to see him as well. And if they are given that grace, if for lack of a better term, perhaps that could be the determining factor. Because it does seem as though, despite the devastation that they're causing, they're happy about it. This is serving the intended purpose. We're going to show how much power we hold.
Regrettably, you know what people are now saying? Officially, there are 5 governors in the Southeast, but people are now saying that there is a 6th governor who happens not to be elected, who is incarcerated, and then is given a kind of order that even the 5 other governors are not able to rise up against. You know, I mean, so sad, sad. The Nasima story is only highlighting the fact that economic losses are major, you know, and this should be discontinued, really. Talking
about one of those southern governors, the Abia governor says that we can't watch the well-being of our people further being wrecked. The destruction of schools, property is meaningless as a political activist, and we will not be a part of the problem we are trying to solve, says IPOB. So it's very difficult to see if there's an end in sight. The governor should do more than just, you know, rhetoric. You know, rise up. You're supposed to be the #1 citizens of your state, and an unelected person somewhere shouldn't dictate what happens. It's a sad commentary. Frankly speaking. It is. To the top of the Saturday Independent, political leaders don't have the will to execute the death sentence as a security expert. That's obviously going to be a very controversial decision and debate, because not everybody believes in a death sentence. And I think personally, even though we're not in the business of giving our personal opinions as journalists, as people, I do think the death sentence is a tricky one, because there's never going to be a guarantee you won't execute an innocent person.
That's right.
And I think that is really...
And that's actually the reason why many governors, yes, the courts will pronounce judgment, you know, death sentence and everything, but hardly, especially in the last, I believe, I mean, since democracy returned in 1999, hardly will you find a governor append his signature, you know, ultimately, because they are also very careful. They also don't want to go down in history as the person who's signed off a man's life.
Absolutely.
You know, so you're right, it's very controversial. Life is involved.
Exactly.
You know.
Well, this is very interesting. The next story on the cover of the Saturday Independent. The Shikiri Shame shares the same lineage culture with Ijebu in Yoruba land.
The Shikiris?
Yes. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, there's always been the historical link between the Shikiris and the Yorubas. I think, you know, cousins, basically, they are. Yes. You recall, of course, what happened when the Olu of Wari was installed. You know, what was his first name again?
It is Orishe. No, yes, it is.
Something like a Yoruba-ish kind of name. But
the Orishe Sola or something like that. It does.
Yes.
The word.
Yeah.
Something like
that. Yeah, Orishe
it does sound very similar to the Yoruba language. But what I thought was interesting, as the Ijebu person at this desk, if we're talking about the culture,
yes,
right, and we use the Olu of Wari's coronation for example,
yes,
it is very similar to a coronation, if you will, of a new Awujale. We already have one.
Who's making this claim, by the way?
This is a high chief. I don't know who says it. I don't know who says so. And I'm not saying I agree with him. However, in terms of pomp and circumstance, as an Ijebu, I can say that we do it well. And the people of Wari also did well. So I think, you know, there's a link there.
I mean, I won't be surprised. The similarities with the Ijebus will, of course, be drawing the relationship with the Yorubas, you know, a lot closer.
That's true.
You know, and it would be nice, of course, to dig deeper into this sort of claim. Yes. You know, let's read about it. Let's see, you know, the correlation, the relationship. You know, because it all boils down, of course, to the old Oyo Empire and those who moved out of the Yoruba land to
other places in Nigeria.
To other places, you know, to have their territories and you know, etc. Which is why you find that the Alaafin of Oyo and the Oni of Ife were very much interested in the coronation of the Olu of Wari. You know, we're one people basically. You know,
absolutely,
we're one people.
I have to say, I love all things Nigerian culture. I really do enjoy it.
I mean, Jebus and the Shikiris, that's a good one, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I don't know if they have an Ojude Oba. But you know,
they could have their own Regbe.
Yes, there we go. You see the similarities. They're speaking for themselves.
Yes.
On to more serious issues, though. Sunday Igboho floors Malami and the DSS as a court awards 20 billion naira in damages and grants him other reliefs.
That's a major court pronouncement yesterday. It's about the fact that Sunday Igboho took the right, you know, step in going to court to say that my fundamental human rights were violated.
Yes.
And the court has basically said that you can't just storm into a man's house, you know, destroy his house. You know, basically he had to run for his life.
Yep.
And that you know the other issues about its agitations and the manner in which it's prosecuting it might be slightly different, but then it is what the DSS did in storming the home of a private citizen,
right.
You know, and they're saying that you have to pay to. Of course, we expect that the federal government or the DSS will appeal the decision. We're hearing already that the Attorney General Malami is already saying something about what next step they will take. But 20 billion is a lot of money.
It is.
It is not about the figure. It is about the pronouncement to say that you can't just. So we believe that the belief would be that DSS will be restrained, you know, in further, you know, duties, you know, when it involves individuals and private citizens. You can't just, I mean, it's similar to what the FCC is doing, you know, breaking into hotels. People are sleeping with their family, dead in the night. You're looking for Yahoo boys, and then you are breaking into hotels, destroying hospitality business, etc. Do your job, but then respect fundamental human rights. That's what this judgment is about.
Exactly. Ultimately, laws apply to everybody, even when you're enforcing laws.
Absolutely.
You too
have
to be covered by them too.
Yes.
Finally, the Central Bank of Nigeria has vowed not to reverse the BDC forex ban despite the crash of the Naira. You can read more on that on page 31.
Naira is still floating, isn't it?
It is.
We don't know where we're going.
It's going somewhere. It's going somewhere. Of that we are sure.
Somewhere higher. All right, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we move on to Daily Trust now. Daily Trust on Saturday, where we have the lead story, victims of Yobe NAF shooting demand compensation. Support not enough, victims need reparation. we don't have that tradition in the military. That's according to a source. And families of victims can go to court, say lawyers. So this is, again, looking at an important story from the point of view of the victims of the Yobe Nav shooting, basically demanding compensation. I think that it is the right thing to do. The lawyers are saying families should go to court, test the law, get your right, stop complaining and whining, insist on what is proper. And I think this is what this story speaks to. And you can see the the cover illustration there, basically detailing the timeline of military airstrikes on civilians and security personnel in Nigeria. The highest was in January 17, 2017, with about 115 strikes.
Yes.
That's not something nice at all. And in April 25, about 30 strikes in Borno. Other stories in today's Daily Trust. For entertainment, I still regard Adam Zango as father. That's coming from Umi Rahab. I believe that's from the Kannywood in Kano. That's their own version of Nollywood there.
Yes.
And Adam Zango is one of the key figures in the motion picture industries up north.
Nice.
ECOWAS freezes financial assets, places travel ban on Guinea junta, which we already discussed in the week that was. Again, a commendable step by the ECOWAS, but they shouldn't stop at that. Engage further so that these fellows don't run to the bigger power blocks.
Absolutely. In
Russia, in China, and in the United States. Meet Niger teacher who taught IBB, Emir of Zuru, Justice Kutiji, others. That's on page 12 of Daily Trust. Again, for a Saturday paper, brilliant human interest story that you want to read. A teacher who taught, these big people, including the former President Babangida, Emir of Zuru, and Justice Kutigi, still alive. I'm sure that you will have a lot of interesting things to say about them.
Absolutely. I love stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I love going back to the
Because
roots.
when you hear things from teachers of great men, they will have had an idea of, how their kids, maybe that will even explain
a lot of the stuff.
Absolutely. How they behave, the sort of decisions, that they take. So this will be an interesting read.
It's a really
if the right questions were asked.
I love journalism like that.
Okay. And for the cover, 53 Nigerians murdered in South Africa, 14 other countries in 3 years. That's on page 4. That's not a good one, isn't it?
It's not.
I mean, in 3 years, that's like how many? More than 60 Nigerians murdered. 53 of those in South Africa alone. Again, not a good commentary on South Africa. You couldn't have come out of the apartheid thing and with the role that Nigeria played and the xenophobia and everything, and then you are still killing your brothers, those who supported you in your time of need. That's not very good at all. CBN declares Oniwinde, owner of Aboki FX, wanted, which was the one we made reference to. The question, though, will be who's responsible for the crash, or the continuous crash of the Naira? Is it Oniwinde and it's Aboki FX, or is it the policy that is defective?
That's a fantastic question. And I hope that we get the answer to that soon. It is. So. But what's really interesting is that Aboki FX has been around for more than, around in trading for more than, 48 hours. So I wonder why it was pertinent now to make this action. Because apparently it's been the one putting out the figures allegedly to the public electronically. And I do not know whether he needs a permission, to put that out. One. I mean, what is he putting out the wrong exchange rate, or is the problem that is putting out the fact that in the first place? So CBN will have to be clear about that. But it looks like they are hunting for him, and it looks like he might be charged to court. If they find out that he has not behaved properly. Any other story from there? Those will be the ones from Daily Trust. Yes. I think we can move to the Saturday Tribune. Thank you. Right. And a court has declared Yoruba Nation agitation legal And they say self-determination is a human right and have awarded 20 billion naira to Igboho against the federal government. And the federal government says it will appeal the judgment, says Malami, which can be expected. Definitely. As you said, when we read this on the Saturday Independent, it is a monumental story.
It is.
And the fact
it's a major one.
It's major. It is major. Did you hear them? They said that self-determination is a human right.
It is.
And whether or not you agree that these groups should be independent from Nigeria, their desire to want it is not illegal, says the court.
Absolutely.
And it is very, very interesting to see that a court has sided with the side of the human rights. So.
Yeah, it could be argued that Sunday Igboho might not be in this for the money, but then who says that he doesn't need money as a compensation and to rebuild his house or to replace what has been destroyed, or even to, I don't know, to fund his project.
Yes.
If he approaches it in a legitimate way.
100%.
But of course, that should not also obliterate the fact that if he has behaved in an improper manner in terms of trying to, the way he's going about the Yoruba nation, that it can also be charged separately.
Absolutely.
And this is the reason why it's still being kept in prison, you know, in Cotonou, Republic of Benin. It's taken some time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
still there, isn't it?
You know, I mean, there was a voice note interview that he had about last week, and he was, you know, clearly frustrated. You know, basically saying that everything now he has left it in the hands of God, and, you know, having issues with his lawyers, asking his followers not to parade his mom in public. You remember last Sunday we had something about his mom, you know, and he said, no, leave me alone. You know, this is about God for me. I don't even mind to return to Nigeria because God is bigger than, you know, the court judgment. That's a clear case, a clear voice of frustration. But let's hope that the courts will do justice to his case.
Understood. Understood. Moving on to insecurity, bandits have murdered Miati Allah chieftain in Kaduna. Armed robbers have killed a guard and robbed Ibadan residents there. So that is sobering reading. Of course, you can read more on that on page 4. Why we made Pantami a professor, says Futo. He applied and passed assessments, first of all, and he gave Isa Ali Ibrahim as his name. ASU also begins a probe into that decision. You can read more on that on page 3. Pantami cannot be prof, says Kwerogi. He has 10 publications, 39 citations. His teaching experience is less than 10 years. His PhD in social science is in social science and not ICT, and he has never worked in Futo. So, not everybody's happy with his new job.
No, not everybody.
You can read that on page 3 and make your own decisions on that. And then to politics now. No automatic ticket for Jonathan in 2023, says the APC. The ex-president will damage himself if he defects to APC, says a Niger Delta activist. I mean, everybody's defecting to the APC.
I mean, this Jonathan APC thing is still, like, you know, on the front burner. Do you think the former president will move to APC?
I don't, but everybody's moving to this APC.
Yeah, but what will he be looking for?
That's number one.
To return to power?
Because that's, I mean, I think that is really the question there, because if he were, of what purpose would that serve, unless he just wanted to join the APC because he likes the politics there? I can't imagine that I want to become president and I'm going to do that under the umbrella of the APC. It just... I mean, like crazier things have happened.
He doesn't think he can win, you know, with
PDP?
On the PDP, or he wants the same man who defeated him to hand over power back to him within the same party. It will be an interesting.
And it's quite sexy. 2020. It is. I mean, it is.
It reads like a script, isn't it?
Yes, poetically, it is quite enthralling.